What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Top of the Key. This is episode 8. Very exciting stuff today. Once again, I'm your host, Sai Balabajra-Petruni, also known as The Beard 2.0. It's coming in really nice. I like where it's headed. So I just want to be part of the well-known beard community, and I hope you guys will help me get there. Once again, I'd like to remind you to like the video, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, leave a comment. I love hate mail. I've told you guys this every week. I want everyone to tell me how much they hate me. Death threats. I would love any sort of death threats you can send my way too. That'd be fun. I don't know. Let's just make things interesting. We got a wonderful episode today. Before that, I'd like to remind everyone to follow Top of the Key on Instagram. That's at Top of the Key Pod. Check that out. Anyways, we got a great episode today. A lot of stuff to talk about. We have a very special guest. I'd like to introduce all the fans and viewers to Jonathan Fry. How's it going, John?
Oh, happy to be here. Doing pretty good. Cannot complain. This is the premiere on video of my fig tree on my balcony. I just moved. So this is Franny. Say hi to Franny.
Hello, Franny.
And that's Franny.
Well, that's great, John. We're very excited to have you here. Obviously, we can see you're a big Chiefs fan. We're going to get into a lot of Chiefs stuff today with the Mahomes deal and all that great stuff. But I want to start off, and all of our viewers know this, that we love to do hot takes on the show. So once again, John has 3 hot takes. I have 3 hot takes, and we're going to start off the show with John's first hot take.
Okay. My first hot take is sort of in 2 parts. First, the Patrick Mahomes extension, $503 million through 2031. It'll be the largest sports contract in history for at least the next 30 years. But in none of the 12 years of the contract, the 2 years that were already on the rookie deal and the 10-year extension, will Mahomes be the highest paid quarterback in the league.
You're saying on a yearly basis?
On a yearly basis, he will never be the highest paid quarterback in those 12 years. But overall, that contract will stand as the largest sports contract across all sports for at least the next 30 years.
I agree. I definitely agree with the first part. I'm not sure about the second part. I think right now, the first few years at least, like he's getting the business end of the deal is where he's getting paid the most. Is that right? The end of the deal?
There's a lot of complexities when it comes to his contract. First off, a lot of it is heavily backloaded.
That's what I meant, yeah.
And so over the first 3 years, I want to say in total, he's making something like $65 million, which if you look at other recent contract extensions, people like Jared Goff or like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson will be making more than Patrick Mahomes will in these first years. And I tend to believe that by the time the more expensive years start, so I want to say about 300 million of the 500 million occurs in the last 5 years of the contract. By the time that those years come around and he is getting paid handsomely, very handsomely, there will be other contracts that will be shorter in length but have a higher annual value just due to the salary caps increases.
Yeah, I think the market rate for quarterback salaries is just going up anyways, and I think with the Mahomes deal, I don't think quarterbacks will get the same type of deal, but they'll get shorter deals for more money. So I absolutely agree with that. I think, Dak's going to be asking for a lot of money now, which he definitely does not deserve in any way. But yeah, a 10-year deal is not going to happen anytime soon.
Is he's not even looking for a long-term deal, anything like Mahomes. What Dak is looking for is a short-term deal, 4 or 5 years. And that's what most quarterbacks and what most athletes, frankly, are looking for, because the idea of signing a contract, one, you're only getting to hit the free agency at very few times in your career. So you have to make them count. And a lot of people have found that the way these leagues are set up and that salaries are set up is that they're evolving. If you look at payrolls for even just for the NFL, I want to say that in the last 5-10 years, the payroll has almost doubled. It's gone up drastically. Um, and so right now, if a team can only pay $200 million to its team or whatever the payroll number is, it's not unfathomable to say in 5-10 years, that payroll could be 300 million and it could be a completely different context. And so what the Chiefs did in locking Mahomes up for a long-term deal, it was a little surprising. A lot of people expected that it was going to be tied to a certain percentage of the salary cap because there's so much uncertainty of how payrolls can rise. And it didn't end up being that way. It ended up being straight dollar figures for the most part, but with a lot of intricacies.
Yeah. Either way, like it kind of came out of nowhere. That it's such a massive deal compared to any of the deals we in the NFL. We don't see long-term deals like this. It's something we see in baseball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we saw it with Trout in the MLB.
But if we look at the different sports and the type of contracts that you can expect in the NBA, first off, this is the simplest. The way that their Players Association set it up, a max contract is 4 or 5 years. 4 years if you're going to a new team, 5 years if you're sticking around with your old team for the most part, for the superstars. And like right now, Steph Curry, highest paid NBA player, about 40 million a year, and it rises every year, but for 4-year, 5-year contract. The next big contract that's going to come up is probably Giannis, and it's going to happen sooner than later. But at most, just solely due to how the NBA Players Association has it set up, he could make 250 something million over 5 years, and that will be the biggest contract in the NBA. It's just how the league is set up. With the MLB, it's a little different because when you get into the league, the MLB team owns your rights for anywhere from about 6 years to 10 years, depending on how quickly you progress through the minor leagues. It's sort of like a clock that's always ticking, and eventually you do get a chance to be a free agent. But a lot of times, just on that timing, it's not until you're 28 or 30 years old. And at that point, yeah, you can get a large contract. You can get a huge contract. But usually you're paying more for those first years than those last years. And it ends up becoming a bit of an albatross. I mean, you look at people like Albert Pujols or things. I mean, any player that signs those large contracts, usually it's at the end where it's not so pretty.
Yeah, I think well, the difference in basketball and baseball is baseball careers just last longer. You can afford to sign a contract at 28, 29. A lot of times basketball players, their prime is done by then. Their peak is over. And if they need to be signing contracts when they're like 24, 25 to be able to be getting the money that they deserve. I did want to touch upon the first thing that you said when you gave your take, that there won't be another contract like Mahomes for the next 30 years. There won't be a larger contract than that. I completely agree with that because it's just one thing. It's very rare for that type of generational talent that really reaches his potential to occur. And we haven't seen a quarterback like Mahomes achieve the kind of success he has so early on in his career. I mean, you can talk about the Brett Favre's, the Aaron Rodgers, but still, Aaron Rodgers sat for 5 years, for like 4 or 5 years, and then he won a Super Bowl. He hasn't done anything since. So it's really tricky to say when we're going to see a type of player like Mahomes again. And Mahomes is probably going to be at the top of the game for another 15 years. So I don't see it's tough to see anyone passing him at this point.
I agree. Um, and if you were to think about some of the other players that really could get that sort of deal in the NFL, it's got to be a quarterback. No other player has that sort of longevity. Everyone else is just getting hit, getting injured. You can't plan that far in advance. Uh, if you look at other quarterbacks who are prime for it, Dak Prescott not going to get it. You look at what Lamar Jackson might be a good option for something bigger, but his style of play, I would be scared to commit long term. I don't see him staying healthy through a 12-year contract. Um, that's my take, at least. Um,
I absolutely agree with Lamar Jackson. I think he's the type of guy who's gonna have the best moments of his career in the next 3-4 years. Um, just because his style of play, it's just he's running so much. You know, they've created so many packages for Lamar to be able to run the ball, and it's almost like a running back. Running backs don't last very long in the league. You know, the best running backs will be the best running back in the league for maybe a year or two, and then somebody else will take a spot. That's how that position works. They don't have the longevity because they're always getting hit. And Lamar Jack, you know, that's the biggest thing they say about quarterbacks. You know, they want to protect quarterbacks, but Lamar Jackson isn't going to be able to get all that protection because he is taking hits all the time. And so I think the next couple of years will be prime time for the Ravens to succeed, just because, you know, first off, you know, you don't know how long he's going to last with this with the athletic shape that he's in right now. And also, I think defenses are going to start figuring out how the Ravens are using Lamar Jackson. So I think he might get some money in his next deal. I don't know when his rookie contract runs out. Maybe another couple years, but I don't really see him being a great quarterback in the NFL for a long period of time.
mhm. Well, the Mahomes story is just made for like a children's flip book or something. It's you know, think back to the draft. The Chiefs find their guy. The GM saw something special, traded up, had him do the Aaron Rodgers routine and sit behind and learn from Alex Smith for a year, only to come in that last game of the season, I think against the Broncos, and really like announce his arrival. And then
Mm-hmm.
that first year as a full time starter, just throwing bomb after bomb, saying all the right things, gets us one overtime away from the Super Bowl, a game which I was at, probably the coldest game that I've ever been to. And I still contend that, you know, Giselle made some clam chowder for the refs or something like that. But I'm not here to throw those conspiracy theories your way. But to make it all a moot point the next year and spectacularly to fight his little injuries, get to the playoffs, and then faces it's a whole redemption arc. Even gets to face the teams that beat us over the regular season. We beat the Texans, we beat the Titans, and it's a Super Bowl, baby. Are you, Cy? Are you hungry? I've got some
I'm very
cereal
hungry.
here for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
you got
look
the
at
Mahomes
this.
Magic Crunch.
The Mahomes Magic Crunch from my local Kansas Hy-Vee store, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. We'll
We
just
love
throw
to
this
see
back
that.
here.
We absolutely love to see that. I did want to ask you though, is there anyone in any sport, we're talking football, basketball, baseball, any sport that you think would deserve this type of deal? Because there's only a couple that come to mind, and I don't see them even having a deal like this.
hmm So first, you got to think: is someone a generational talent? No, just average superstar is going to get a deal of this magnitude. When you think of baseball, you think of Mike Trout, and he had the biggest deal to date already. What, somewhere in like the 430, $440 million range. Uh,
Yep.
they need to be young, they need to have longevity. So, and it can't be basketball because of what we talked about with the way their maximums are already set. So I think probably the best bet comes again from baseball. Um, but it's sort of tough to predict because if we look at those youngest stars right now, who is the youngest star that isn't locked up long term, who's bound to be on free agency, that's a generational talent? Maybe someone like Mookie Betts, but there's no way he's going to get in the $500 million range. There's no one in the horizon. It's not to say someone couldn't come along and be the next Mike Trout in baseball. And with inflation and the way salaries rise, I think that's the only route I see that's feasible that gets someone past that $500 million to where Mahomes is sitting.
Yeah. And I don't like talk about Mookie Betts. It makes me sad.
Sorry to bring that up. I know.
It's really tough for you to bring that up, but yeah, I was thinking a couple guys. I mean, when you think of basketball, you think of guys like Giannis and Zion, and I mean, it's just the fact that Giannis, for me, looking at him, I think a big reason Mahomes got the deal that he did is he already won a Super Bowl, and Giannis, that's still a question mark because Milwaukee, as great as they are, they've been a great regular season team, and we saw how they came apart last year against Toronto in the playoffs. I don't know if much has changed in regards of this year where they can really make a playoff run. I still don't think they have the team to be able to do that. And then Zion, it's way too early, but look, there's one thing to have the generational talent, to be that type of talent. There's another thing to put it into results, and that's what Mahomes has done. I actually saw a stat this week. It was Mahomes has never lost a game by more than one score. I think that's unbelievable. It's not, we haven't really seen anyone like him. You can never count the Chiefs out of any game because he'll bring you right back. So no, I don't think there's anyone out there who can really get a deal like Mahomes right now.
Now, where I gave the limitations of NBA players making that much money, I will caveat and say that there's a lot of money that people make outside of their payrolls. And so when you look at things like endorsement deals and shoe deals and just various apparel, that's where you can make up some of that gap. And Mahomes is doing it too. I mean, you see him on my box of cereal. If you watch TV in Kansas, like I did during quarantine, you'll see nothing but, oh, here's a Head and Shoulders shampoo commercial with Mahomes and Troy Polamalu. Or, okay, here's him eating ketchup for Hunt. Or here's, I mean, it was commercial after commercial after commercial. And I love to see it, but I can see that in someone like Zion's future very, very quickly. Becoming the next echelon of Peyton Mannings and Shaq and Charles Barkley's, just where you see them every commercial break on ESPN.
Yeah, and I think Zion will definitely pan out. I don't think that's a question. I think he'll be a tremendous player. I think we just need to pump the brakes a little bit. Once he shows something on the court, go for it. Like I'm all for it. I'm Team Zion too, but he's played maybe a month or two of NBA basketball, and we're all just so quick to say he's the greatest talent that we've ever seen.
Oh, not only that, they're quick to put him on the cover of NBA 2K21. Where's the love for Luka? That's my question.
That's what I mean. You got Kobe and Dame, which I like the fact that they have Dame on there. So underappreciated. But then you got Zion, who's played for like a couple months in the league. You can, if you want to go for a young star, go for someone who's already proved himself. Luka was damn near in the MVP conversation this year. So, I mean, come on. But before we move on from this Mahomes deal and move on to some other big topics, I just want to get your take. Do the Chiefs repeat this year? What do you think about the odds they can repeat and Mahomes gets his second chip?
Yes, the Chiefs repeat. Super Bowl champion right here. First off, there's continuity. 19 of 22 starters already signed for next year. Hopefully, Chris Jones comes along. He's been the one holdout who we really could use next year. But Mahomes, I only touched on it, but the first few years of his contract are not hefty paydays. He's not getting paid like crazy, and I think that's so that the Chiefs can go out and fill the gaps that they need. And so we're bringing back all our key contributors. We have a great running back coming in, taken in the first round. It's risky to take a running back in the first round of the draft, but I feel pretty good that we're already working with so much strength that we can take those sort of risks. The AFC West doesn't really scare me, to be perfectly honest. And I may be much of a homer, but I envision a dynasty. I do. I think that this core is locked up for a while, and they're not losing much from last year. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, I think if there's any team in sports right now that could start a dynasty right now, it's the Chiefs. You guys haven't lost too many players. I actually think picking the running back with the 32nd pick in the draft was ingenious because you have all the other skill positions locked up. Your defense doesn't need to be great, but we saw flashes at the end of at the back end of last season where they can play when they need to play. They can make those crucial plays at the end of games to keep you guys in the game and give Mahomes a shot to win. And that's all you need. You got rid of Kareem Hunt last year. That was a whole big deal, but now you've got depth at the running back positions. Damian Williams is still there. He was amazing last year. And now you got another young guy to kind of sit behind him and take some of those reps as well. So I think you guys are going to be great. I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes, and like you said, the AFC West is pretty weak right now. With the Chargers and Raiders, I kind of write them off a little bit this year. The Broncos will be all right, but you guys kind of dominate that division for the most part.
Now, I will throw in another caveat and say next year's playoffs, I think, will be harder. For one reason that is a change, there's going to be another spot up for grabs. So there's a seventh team coming into the fold, I believe, this year that will go against that 2 seed. They won't get the bye week. And so if you look back to this Chiefs run, we got very lucky to get a bye. It worked out perfectly. I believe it was because the Patriots lost embarrassingly in the last week, which you got to love to see it. It's the reason we got a bye. But adding another game, taking that rest away from a top team, it adds a bit more parity, I think. And I do like to see parity, but I feel good for our Chiefs.
Yeah. That is a great point. The 7th seed is kind of huge, and it'll be fun for teams that are always kind of on the fringe playoff bubble to try and fight for that 7th seed. And I'm going to talk about one of those teams in my first hot take, which this is a little biased, but Sam Darnold will bring the Jets a championship at some point in his career.
That's a hot take. I will give you that.
It's ambitious. I know it's the Jets, but people are sleeping on Sam Darnold. This kid might be the best quarterback talent the Jets have ever had. And I mean that. If you look, I think in that draft class, I think he's the second best quarterback behind Lamar. I think guys like Josh Allen and Baker have much better supporting casts around them. And look at Darnold, like he's shown incredible flashes the last couple of years. You know, he had mono last year, came back, won like 6 games out of like the remaining 7 out of like the last 9 or 10 that they had. So yeah, I just think he hasn't had an offensive line. He hasn't had receivers around him, and he has the Jets front office to deal with. So I think people are sleeping on Sam, dude.
Do you think the Jets are making the playoffs this year?
No, I think they're like if they're 7 playoff teams, I think they're like the 8-9. I think they're like the middle of the pack AFC team still. I think the Bills are gonna win the division. I think the Bills are gonna be really good. I actually have the Bills going to the AFC Championship and losing to the Chiefs. But I just think it's going to take some more time. We're still rebuilding. We beefed up our offensive line a little bit this year. We got a couple receivers around Darnold. Not really any big receiving threats yet to really help him out. But offensive line was huge because he was getting sacked a lot. He had very little time to throw the ball. This whole Jamal Adams situation scares me a little bit. But
At the end of
the
the day,
I think we're in.
what are you saying?
Do you think a trade's going to happen, or do you think he's bluffing?
I don't think he's bluffing. I think he wants out, but I don't think we're going to trade him. We have nothing to lose. We're not paying him much right now, and look, I wouldn't be opposed to trading him though. Like at first, I was like any other Jets fan. I was like, this is the end of the world. But look, if he wants out, having him on the team isn't really going to help us, and we can get a lot out of him, and we're not paying him much. So, like, honestly, he's on a team-friendly deal right now, and if we can get other pieces, if we can get, like, a corner, an edge rusher, someone already in the league. I don't want picks, though. I want, like, some established players to help us out, but I don't think he's bluffing, but I don't think it really matters. The Jets hold all the cards in this situation.
Well, JETS.
JETS. I think it's gonna happen, man. I don't know. We'll see. It's with a lot of hope I make that hot take. Not many facts based around it, but a lot of hope. But we got some other big NFL topics to cover. Obviously, one of the big topics in the news recently has been this whole Redskins name change that people are calling out for. With everything going on in the world right now, that a lot of movements towards social change, and with involving sports, it comes to all these Native American team names like the Redskins, the Indians, but one of the things that we're trying to separate is teams that are overtly bad with their names, like the Redskins, and I could throw the Indians in there too, because that is a little sketchy. But there are other teams like the Black.
It was a little sketchier when Chief Wahoo was their mascot and all.
Yeah, very true. But then you got like the Chiefs, the Blackhawks, the Braves, who those have Native American connotations to them, but not necessarily negative connotations to them, is for what I see. I wanted to get your thoughts, though.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance that needs to be matched, because you look at a team like the Redskins. That's about the worst you can get. And the only reason that it's really coming up now, and it hasn't before, is one, the moment we're in, and two, the sponsors finally said, we've had enough. I believe the impetus for all of this was that FedEx, who owns the naming rights for their field and paid something like $200 million over the life of the contract for it, they finally said, yo, this isn't cool. Like, we aren't okay with this. And Nike, who does their apparel for the Redskins, they said, we're not going to sell any apparel that says Redskins, period. And it's when those sponsors come up and say, look, we can't pay for this anymore. We don't condone it. We don't want it on our souls, that the Redskins finally said, okay, it's time. Now, the question is going to be, how quickly can that change happen? The NFL season's already gearing up to start, and this isn't something that can happen overnight. There's lot of little aspects that go into a name change. You Most times I've read it takes closer to like 2 years for a name to be changed, and for then all the branding in an arena, and for all of the websites, and for all of the partners that have that are selling apparel, for everything to sort of coalesce. And so do I think they're going to have a new name announced before the beginning of the season? Yes. Do I think it's going to be a rapid change where everything is now standardized? They have a new logo. They have new team colors. They have all of their business cards are updated properly, and all their email addresses. Who knows? I don't think so. I don't think it's realistic.
I think they at least need to have a different name and logo by the start of the season. I think colors you're fine with the same colors, to be honest, but
and they've already said too they're not going to pick a name that has any reference to like Native American imagery. And so I can't tell you what the next name is going to be. I believe that the owner said something about wanting to honor the troops in his statement about it, but really couldn't tell you where it's going to head.
Yeah, I just didn't. I was looking at potential name changes, and I hate the idea of like because I saw a lot of Washington generals and presidents and shit like that. But I just think that would be bogus.
It would be a little tone deaf to the times. I'll say that much.
Yeah. But
in terms of other teams, the Chiefs, it's just where you draw a line, because I think less people have an issue with the name Chiefs, but might have more of an issue with some of the imagery that comes up. And so things like people dressing in like headdresses, or like people dressing as Native Americans and coming to the game. It's been a big taboo thing that we don't love, but it happens in Kansas City. Or
you got the Arrowhead chop.
That's a little more on the questionable side. It's tough to retrain a whole fan base, I will say, but people are becoming more aware. Or whenever we score a touchdown at Arrowhead Stadium, some cheerleader comes out riding this beautiful horse, and they have a big Chiefs flag, and they're going down the whole field with fireworks, and the horse's name is Warpaint. I mean, it just kind of depends where you draw your lines. Redskins, I think, was very clear. Chiefs, I don't think we'll see a change quite yet, but you never know.
Yeah, I think for these names that are clear, like racial slurs, or like the Redskins is a clear racial slur, and that needs to change. What I see about the Indians is, look, Native Americans are different from Indians. I'll speak as an Indian American to say that, Christopher Columbus was looking for India when he found America, and so he started calling them Indians, but they were Native Americans. So, like I do think that it is a little racist as well when you're referring to Native Americans as Indians. So I think that would also, I think the Cleveland Indians should change their name as well. Look, the other ones though, there's not really a negative connotation to the name itself. Like the Chiefs, that's I think the name Chiefs kind of actually pays homage to Native Americans. Look at the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks said that they actually were named after a tribe called the Blackhawks, and they're actually very in touch with the Native American community and is working very, very hard to maintain that relationship and make it a positive one where they're not culturally appropriating. So the main thing that I see is, even if the name's not a racial slur, and if it's just if it's not a disrespectful name for the Native Americans. It's fine as long as your behavior is not appropriation from a fan perspective, from just everything that goes around in the games, like you were talking about at Arrowhead Stadium, or Arrowhead Field. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, I completely agree with you from that standpoint. But moving on, another big NFL topic that came out this week were DeSean Jackson's comments on the Jewish community. He made some very anti-Semitic comments. He even quoted Hitler. John, I wanted to get your thoughts as a Jewish American. I don't know how this made you feel, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's never, ever a good look to quote the Fuhrer. I will start by saying that. DeSean Jackson was rightfully called out, and then he doubled down. He took the same exact quote and reposted it, but he scratched out Hitler's name, and he scratched out the first paragraph and the last paragraph. And he said, "Oh, just focus on this line," which pretty much said that the Jews' master plan for world domination was to exploit black people. And a lot of people that have called him out have chalked it up to that, and I've read this on a lot of articles and a lot of forums, that DeSean Jackson is an idiot and that should be his excuse. And his team's owner, his team's GM, both Jewish men. His punishment was just announced. He's going to pay a fine, visit the local Chabad house where there's a rabbi he can talk to. He talked to a Holocaust survivor the other day. And Julian Edelman offered to take him to the Holocaust Museum. It all sounds like PR to me. I don't think he was ever really at risk of getting cut. Jewish issues don't really hit as hard to America as some of the other issues. And I'm not saying that to say that the Jews are the most important out there. Everyone's important in all their unique ways. But this issue specifically is a Jewish issue. And beyond Julian Edelman, you don't see too many people showing outrage. And Julian is Jewish. More than anything for me, it's sort of a reminder that, you can watch and love sports, and we follow our favorite players. We make our hot takes. Sports can be a big part of us, but always to keep in mind that they might be super athletes, but not everyone is like a superhuman all around. And I mean, a lot of people that are in sports specifically have spent maybe a year in college and then went to the league, or are just sort of figuring out their own footing. And we shouldn't expect them to be perfect people. But quoting Hitler is not a good start.
No, absolutely not. And I actually, you hit the nail right on the head when you're talking about his punishment. He's an NFL player. Athletes, no matter what they do, for the most part, they might be fined a little bit, but they're going to be fine at the end of the day. That's kind of how it works. They're worth so much money that teams can't afford to cut them no matter what they do from a social standpoint. I will say the way Julian Edelman handled it, his response was it was a class act. He handled it very well, and handled like an educated person would. And he said people should be educated more, and that's true. I will say it's very tough when one community that is fighting very hard for certain things, for certain rights, for equality. You have certain members of that community go and attack another community, and I just don't see if you have people like that attacking other communities, how do you expect to garner the support from other minorities out there? Because look, I understand Black Americans are fighting a big battle here, but there are other minorities that have faced forms of racism throughout history, and it doesn't mean they should be forgotten or disrespected in any way either. And I just thought not even DeSean Jackson's comments, but I thought what was really disappointing was Steven Jackson, who's been one of the big leaders in the Black Lives Matter movement, came out and supported DeSean Jackson in his comments. And Steven Jackson, someone who I saw as someone who was educated on these issues, someone who was fighting for equality for so long. After George Floyd's death, he's been out there fighting very hard, and to defend DeSean Jackson's comments in that it's disheartening in a way.
It wasn't an article I enjoyed reading on ESPN, no. But I guess everyone is sort of learning how to react to some of these issues. They're new for people, and in the same way, I don't know what it's like to be Black. Some people don't know what it's like to be Jewish, and it might be the first time they're dealing with Jews, or they might just really not know how to approach that. And so I'm happy that this sort of brings a little more light to some Jewish issues. There aren't too many, I mean, unless we're going back to like Sandy Koufax or I don't know, Amari Stoudemire, it's not too often we get prevalent Jewish topics in sports. But this isn't really how I was expecting to spend some of this off season focused on. I didn't think that anti-Semitism was going to come into the NFL off season, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy year in general, and so much shit has happened. It's been a shitstorm, man. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and I know he's come out and apologized, but I hope this doesn't deter the progress that has been made over the last couple months on just everything in terms of people kind of coming together and uniting for the greater good. But talking about the actual NFL, the amount of coronavirus cases are rising rapidly. The second wave has really hit hard, and the difference between the first wave and the second wave was everyone stayed home during the first wave, so it was contained a little bit. But it's getting crazy right now, and there's been a lot of talk on whether or not the NFL season will take place. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. It's a lot of people are saying it might not happen.
Oh, it's tough because you think of NFL, and one, it's the sport with the most contact and the most players. You're literally every single snap attacking every other team's players and touching them and grabbing them and trying to drag them down, and there's no way around that. You're not going to go to flag football. You can't modify the game to be safer, to not, unless, can I throw a hot take in?
Yeah, your second hot take's coming up anyway. Yeah.
Here's a hot take that I have not thought out quite yet, but here it goes. What if we're saying that coronavirus mostly is spread through a mouth, through the nose, through the eyes, through those open orifices that fluids, droplets can come in? What if NFL players are mandated to wear sort of like Daft Punk type of masks or helmets that they can see out of just fine, they can breathe through, but is not open air? Could that lower the amount of transmission of COVID? I would like to see that. You can't even see the player's face. It's all in a helmet. I think it could work. There's my hot take.
Yeah, I think it could work. There have been some players who have come out and said that they probably wouldn't play if something like that happened. I know J.J. Watt said that he tried doing something like that, and he was just gassed after just a few plays, and so he said he would sit out if that rule was made. Nothing against the safety and protection of everyone, but he just wouldn't feel comfortable in that situation, which is fine, and I totally get that. I think it's really up in the air right now. We'll have to see how the next month or so develops. They canceled all preseason games for a reason, but I just think it's funny that football is the most like contact sport. They're touching every play, but I just don't see how it makes a difference in the safety and protection of players to not swap jerseys or staying 6 feet apart at the end of games.
It's a funny little distinction. If you're going at each other for hours, 3-hour game, you should be able to swap jerseys. It's just like if you look at the NBA bubble where they say, we have a game room, you can play cards, but you have to use a new deck every time. Or you can play ping pong with your fellow players, but you can't play doubles. People are going to try to put these rules and these guidelines together with good intentions, but it's impossible. There's still so much that's unknown about how coronavirus spreads. We give our best guesses, we put our best efforts forward, but you don't really know how it's all going to progress. And the NFL was fortunate in how their season is timed. They had the most time to wait and listen and learn and see how all these other leagues proceeded. And then to this point, they've still pretty much put nothing together in ways of a plan. I get you want to wait and get as much information as possible, but they announced their schedule as if nothing really was going to change. Like they have a few little basic contingencies in play, but it just kind of reminds you too that the NFL, of all the leagues, and I'm being careful, but I feel like they might be the most ignorant of them. Just in terms of like it's old school American sport. I love it, I do. But if there was a team that was gonna, or a league that was gonna disregard science, I think it was gonna be the NFL. And who knows? They've still not said anything to the effect of how many fans would be in stands, or if they would allow any period, if they're going to try a bubble, if they're going to change uniforms, if they're going to try to change any rules. Not that I've seen. I haven't seen any sort of league-wide statements or ideas or plans. And it's going to have to come sooner than later. We're getting closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, I mean, it's they really haven't said anything about it, and the season's like 2 months away now. It's getting pretty close, and I think they still have a little bit of time, but you got to come up with a plan for like some sort of bubble pretty quickly. They came up with a schedule without any of that thought in mind. But like that's the thing. It's tough to have a bubble with the NFL because there's like those rosters are 53 players with coaching staff and training and all these other guys. And NBA is fine because you have 15-man rosters. It's not as much of a struggle of getting everyone in there. So I don't know how that would work.
Where do they practice? If they're in a bubble, how many fields do you need? Maybe they're playing games on multiple days a week. I guess that might be a way to sort of expedite some of it, but that becomes a mess in itself too. I'm sure there'll be a lot of creative ideas thrown out in the next few months for you to ponder. But for now, we just don't know enough.
Yeah, and I think they'll try and find a way to make it work, but it's not a situation where it's going to leave everybody happy with any certainty. So we'll see. But yeah, I want to move on to the NBA though, because we've got a lot to cover. The season's coming up in like 3 weeks. It's very exciting. I'm so ready for sports to be back.
Just give me 1 second here. Here we go. All right, sorry, I'm ready now.
The Nets. Wow. We will talk about the Nets very quickly, very soon. But I wanted to start off. So a big thing that's been going around is all the jersey messages, the messages that will be allowed on the back of NBA players' jerseys with social change, Black Lives Matter. Some of these quotes like that have been used over the last couple of months regarding that whole situation. But a senator from I think it was Missouri, Senator Josh Hawley, came out and said that these messages should not be restricted, and messages like support our troops and back the blue should be used by NBA players. I don't know this if this guy's very well educated on the NBA demographic.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I'll say too, so much of honestly, if someone even did want to put that on their jersey, I don't know if that would be well received by their teams, and it becomes sort of a locker room issue too. But I'm not opposed to the league taking a predefined amount of statements. Maybe if there was some sort of avenue that if someone really wanted something, they could send it to the league, and the league could give a verdict or an answer on it. I have seen that they are allowing some little flexibilities. For example, I think with the Mavericks, every player on the team has decided to put the word equality on the back of their jersey, but the international players like Luka is putting the word equality, but in his native language. And I thought that was sort of a cool bit of change that that it doesn't seem like everyone's sort of getting the flexibility with their jerseys, but in general. But I guess this idea sort of spurred from right when they were talking about the restart plan. Kyrie Irving, I know your favorite players out there, he pretty much said, and he's been hurt, but he said, I don't know if we should start playing again when all these social issues are going on. It sort of distracts from the message. And so I think that really what he was doing was jockeying for a seat at the negotiation table so that he could usher in a few of these sort of social issues into the restart plan. And this is one of the things that came out of it, is allowing people to get to say, to get a little form of expression while they play. And I know that some of the restrictions that they have on the jerseys, for example, I don't think they're allowed to put anyone's name on the back, none of like any police brutality victims' names. And I think they did that out of the respect of some of the families, and to try to leave a tinge of the social action in, and to make a statement, but not to let it take over the narrative of the return of the season completely.
Yeah, I agree, but I will say, I don't think Kyrie Irving is as shrewd as you have made him out to be. I don't think he was jockeying for position at the table or anything like that. I think he was just saying what was on his mind, and they kind of took it like that. But
continue. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, look, even if the NBA allows phrases like "support our troops" or "back the blue," like, no, who in their right mind as an NBA player is gonna put "back the blue" on the back of their jersey? That's like social suicide in the NBA.
Yeah, read the room. It might not be the time or the place.
Yeah, but what were you gonna say?
What was I gonna say about Kyrie?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, that was what he was doing. He wasn't gonna play regardless. Well, okay, my real stance too is he wasn't gonna play once Kevin Durant decided he wasn't gonna play.
Very true. Yeah.
And so he was still being loud and proud and persuading players, Kyrie was, to sit out. And to think about whether they do it, and whether it's more important to make social action noise right now instead. And why would he do that unless he thought he could make some change? And I think that it's easier for him to have a voice, as one, he wasn't even considering going, but two, He's already well paid. He's got a long-term contract that's guaranteed and already paid up, and he's a superstar. He can say and speak his mind, where some of the younger players, the role players that might feel the same way, they can't. And I don't think there was ever really a circumstance or a situation in which what Kyrie was saying at the beginning of this all, which was, let's sit out and that'll show them, that anyone was going to do it. I think that was a bluff entirely. I think they just wanted to get some little changes. They wanted names on jerseys. They wanted the league to make some changes. They wanted the league to donate money to help support certain causes. And I think that's well within his right. But I do think it was all bluff.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's all bluff. I think if players followed him and actively sat out, I think that's what he would have wanted. Because he had nothing in the race there. I mean, he didn't have a horse in the race. He wasn't going to play regardless. I just don't think he was. I just don't think he's as smart as you make him out to be to be having this master plan.
He does think the world is flat. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But speaking about Kyrie and the entire Nets, Kyrie's not the only Nets player that will not be joining his team in Orlando. There are about a dozen others. So, John, I want you to talk to me about the now Karis LeVert-led Brooklyn Nets.
So I am a Nets fan. I live in Brooklyn, proud of it. I was a season ticket holder last year, and went to most all games that I could. Watched all the away games. So I like the Nets, and I'm going to throw my next hot take in, if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
I think if there's one simple thing that changed this break that could have made the Nets' outlook entirely different, I think Kevin Durant is healthy, and I think he should have played. And I think if he had played, that you wouldn't see what happened with the Nets. We wouldn't be down 7 or 8 of our full-time players. I think pretty much everyone would have played, including Kyrie. If Kevin had just said, okay, I'm healthy, I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of your players got the virus, so I mean, I don't know.
So, yeah, New York's in the epicenter, or it was right when it was all starting, and right after, say, Rudy Gobert was the first dagger and really what the straw that broke the NBA's back. Right after Gobert, there were tests the next week, and 4 players had the Rona from the Nets, including Kevin Durant. And now, yeah, a lot more have gotten it. But just because you've had coronavirus and you had it 3 months ago doesn't necessarily mean that you can't play in a month's time. And for Kevin Durant, he had his big injury over a year ago now. The average recovery time for his injury is, I want to say, somewhere in the 8 to 11 month time range. And right now, it's way past that. And look, I don't want to rush it. He rushed it the last time, and that's how he got in this predicament in the first place. But he did get paid close to $40 million this year to sit on a bench. And then he was talking before about playing on the Olympic team for 2020 when it was still around. He was saying, yeah, I'm sitting out this year, but I think I'll be good to go. I'll at least give it a shot. And there are videos that surfaced before March and at the end of February of him playing 5-on-5 basketball with other players on the Nets, and him dunking and him running and him looking just fine. And I get it. It's different in a real game atmosphere when players are giving it their all, when there's contact, when there's hard fouls. It's different. But just that little note of confidence, if he had opted in, Kyrie Irving, his injury debatably should be healed by now. I'm fine giving him the rest off. If Durant wasn't going to play, Kyrie shouldn't play. But then it goes from there. And DeAndre Jordan, the number 3 of the big 3 signed last offseason, he gets Rona, and he says, my number 1 and my number 2 aren't playing. Okay, I guess I'm going to sit out. And then Spencer Dinwiddie gets it, and he says, well, everyone else is sitting out. I might as well too. And it's just like it keeps compounding. Torian Prince, who was a solid role player for us, he started a lot of games. He gets it. He says, who else is around? Oh, no one? I guess I'm going to sit out. The one that actually stuns me is Joe Harris. Joe Harris, his contract is up at the end of the year, and he's not getting paid a crazy amount now. He's due for a big upgrade. He's going to get paid well, and we're going to be a luxury tax team. The NBA is. We're already past our salary cap, but we can re-sign him, and we're going to try to. But he did not take the approach that, say, David Bertans did of the Wizards. Bertans said, I have to sign a new contract this year. I'm back on the free agency, and I don't want to risk getting hurt. I don't want to get an injury in this bubble play. That means I'm not going to be able to maximize my earnings for my next contract. We started the show talking about how you only get to reach free agency so many times. And so I have a lot of respect for Joe Harris for sticking around and saying, no, I'm going to show you what I got. I'm going to play my hardest. And I hope he stays in Nets from here on out this offseason. But to add another wrinkle, if we have 7 or 8 players on the Nets who are sitting out, who aren't playing, who have the Rona, who opted out in the case of like Wilson Chandler, he's not sick. He just doesn't want to go. He lives with his grandma. I get it. I understand. I give him his credit. But if we look now at what happened yesterday and the day before, just this last week, now the Nets are collecting off the scrap. The players that are left on the market. My headphones just died, so we'll see if you can hear me from here.
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
You can hear me? So Yesterday, the day before, we got Jamal Crawford signed, 40-year-old Jamal Crawford.
Love that, saw that, yeah.
Beasley, the 2nd overall pick back in the day out of Kansas State. I'm not a K-State fan, but it's exciting to see Michael Beasley, who is a good friend of Kevin Durant. And I can view these 2 players as sort of like a trial run. They want to see the veteran leadership that might be able to come and sit at the end of the bench next season when we have our superstars intact, when we have a fully loaded team, no Rona, no injuries. At minimum, it'll be exciting. That's my rant so far of the Nets. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be really exciting to see the big 3 of Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, and Joe Harris this postseason. I mean, you still got those 3 guys. That's pretty much all you have. But, yeah, I mean, look.
I have another point I'll throw in there, too, is the exciting playoff race for me right now is the race to the very bottom for the Nets and the Wizards. Because the way it's set up, the Eastern Conference, there are 9 teams and 8 spots for the playoffs. We are the 7th seed right now. We're up a half game. But the real people at the bottom are the Wizards, who are, I want to say, close to 4 games out.
I think they're like 6 games back, or 5 or 6, yeah, something like that. They're pretty far back.
They're back, and they're also without John Wall. They're without Bradley Beal, who isn't playing; he's injured, and they're without Bertans, who I was talking about earlier. They're just as depleted at the top. We're depleted across the whole team. But as a Nets fan, the wrinkle that I'm watching is our first-round draft pick this year. If we make the playoffs, we lose our first-round draft pick. It goes to the Timberwolves. And so there's a part of me at this point who is saying, look, I'd love to get the experience of Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris, whoever else is auditioning for a role next year. and get them the chance to try the playoffs. But I'd rather honestly just keep our draft pick and use that maybe as trade bait for a third star if we don't think Karis LeVert can fill that role with KD and Kyrie. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if the Nets semi-tank, if they try to go 0-8 in this seeding period and try to make it to that playoff game or to the play-in game to get that 8th spot against the Wizards. I would like to see us keep our draft pick. It's just kind of sad to look at your team and say, I wouldn't mind you losing the next 8.
Yeah. I mean, look, when we're talking about the race to the 8th seed, everyone's talking about the West. No one gives a shit about this race between the Nets, Magic, and
no one gives a shit, but I do.
The Wizards.
Thank you very much.
All right, John. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter who really wins that battle because you're gonna get swept in the first round anyways. But
yes, no, 100%. There's no chance. There is no underdog miracle here that is gonna happen.
Yeah, especially when your team is depleted, you got no one there. But I'll still watch the Nets play because I need basketball right now. So either way, it's exciting stuff, and the Nets are going to be a team to be reckoned with next year. Sorry, they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to be one of the top teams in the East, and much to my chagrin, if there are 2 players I hate the most in the NBA, it's Kyrie number 1 and KD number 2. So these Nets are one of my least favorite teams going into next year.
Oh, and I can't wait to take it to your Celtics then.
Oh, it won't matter because the Celtics are going to go to the NBA Finals this year anyways.
How are you feeling about Kemba? Is he back? Is he full strength?
I think he's full strength.
Doing a little iffy at the end before the season stopped?
Oh, he'll be fine. The Celtics are looking in prime position right now. I think they're very ready to make a run. But we're going to get to all those teams in a little bit, all the best teams in the league in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of incorporating my second hot take into this discussion. I want to talk about the best young star in the NBA. And with that being said, I'm going to go out and say that next year, Zion will be in the top 3 MVP conversation. I think he's going to make a very big jump next year. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on who you think is the best young star in the league, and kind of just talk about this.
I mean, I do think Zion's he's going to have a hell of a career. The team that he's surrounded by is young. They have draft picks galore. Like it'll be an exciting time for him. I think right now, Luka has it built. I think the Mavericks are a good contender for the year, and he's exciting to watch, and I think he's going to grow and grow and grow. I personally think it will be very interesting to see Trae Young's trajectory. If he could get surrounded by some quality pieces, I could see him taking a big leap forward. I don't think that necessarily he can thrive playing hero ball. He can't play James Harden style and expect to succeed in my eyes. But I do think that if you give him another quality piece or two, there's a good chance he pops off.
Yeah, actually, you're talking about James Harden. I think the guy that reminds me more of James Harden is actually Luka. I see a lot of similarities between him and James Harden. Both of these guys are not the fastest guys on the court, not the best in-shape guards on the court, but they're very skilled, lots of finesse, lots of talent, don't play defense, either of them. So that's why I'm really very interested to see how the Mavs do in the postseason, because there's always the talk on how James Harden chokes in the playoffs. And we'll see if Luka's the same type of player, but he's done great already. But turning the gear on Trae Young, I think Trae Young, you said it perfectly. Trae Young is the type of guy who needs a lot of help around him, because he's small. Look, at the end of the day, he's small. He reminds me of Steph, but he's like a smaller Steph even. And he can shoot really well, but he needs a lot of help around him. He can't play defense. It's the same story. But
if you think back to like Trae Young in college, he started out guns a-blazing and was the talk of the town, averaging the high in the NCAA, and was really killing the game until everyone realized he had no one around him at Oklahoma. And then when people realized, oh, all we got to do is double, triple team him every time and not leave him any space, how was that? The Sooners lost like 5 of their last 8 games and poo-pooed out of the NCAA tournament like nothing. And part of that too, I'm a Big 12 guy. I love my Jayhawks, Rock Chalk, but I think that the Trae Young experiment can work if given a big guy to play with. And I feel like at the end of the season, right before the trade deadline, was it Clint Capella was traded to the Hawks?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see that. I'm also so intrigued by the Rockets' ideas and stances for going forward. Their experiment to try without a center, it blows my mind. It's revolutionary.
I think it works.
I feel like I saw this week that they had one backup center on their roster who they just cut. They had one guy who was 7 foot. They cut him, and now what's their tallest player? Like 6'6", 6'8"? I don't know, somewhere in that range.
PJ Tucker for center of the year. I mean, look,
You expect them to match up against some of those like bruisier teams. Those, you think of a team like the 76ers where it's just all length. You got Joel Embiid, you got Simmons, you got just huge arms galore, wingspan.
Sure, and I think a team like the 76ers would be able to have a lot of success on the glass. You know, they'd get a lot of rebounds. It'd probably dominate the offensive glass and get a lot of second shot, third shot opportunities. But look, in transition, like Embiid and Horford are going to get burnt.
Yeah. Well, I remember I went to a game this year. I was going to the Jazz game, the Nets Jazz, and I've always like had some respect for like Rudy Gobert, but then I watch him play in person, and he's a tank. How do you get past the man? That's like, I don't think you can completely discredit having a 7-footer on your team. If anything, it's a good way to change things up. If, say, it's not working for the Rockets and they need to just have like a change of pace or a change mid-game. But they won't even allow them the flexibility as they've cut off all lifelines.
Yes, but look, I think having a center who's like 7 foot tall, big guy helps for a conventional type of team, but the way the Rockets play, I think it's perfect for them. I actually have the Rockets. This is a crazy hot take that I've kind of had over the past few weeks, and I've said it every week, but the Rockets are going to win the NBA championship. James Harden's going to average 35 over the course of the playoffs. Russell Westbrook will average 15 assists over the course of the playoffs. Look, I think it works because you have Harden and Westbrook, and that's the only reason it works. It's obviously up in the air how much success they will have. I think they'll have a lot of success, but I think you cannot count them out. They're going to be really tough to beat. But moving back to young stars in the league, I think Jason Tatum is going to be one of the, if not the face of the league very soon.
I wouldn't be surprised. I just think back to the trade that brought him there, and gosh, it was a sweep.
He's He's so good, dude. We kind of saw him just take that leap this year. Because for a long time, Celtics fans were waiting for him to kind of just go out there and say, I'm the best player on the team. We struggled with the tumultuous Kyrie Irving the last couple of years. And now finally we have our guy, and I'm very happy. I'm so happy Kyrie's off the team so we can hand the keys to the kingdom to Jason Tatum.
Hey, for all the animosity and hate that you and the Celtics will give Kyrie, I embrace him with open arms. I can't wait to see what shenanigans he has in store for me over these next few years. I will say it was a little rough. There was right when he came back from his first injury of the year this season. He's back like the second or third game, and he puts up okay numbers, not great numbers, and they lose. And he's asked, what needs to happen for this to become a championship team? And he goes, we're missing the pieces. We'll get the pieces. We'll get the pieces. And I was like, Kyrie, dude, I love you, but you gotta think before you talk sometimes. Like, he gave a list. He's like, yeah, we got KD, we got Kyrie, my name's Kyrie, we got DeAndre, and he forgot to mention 2 or 3 key names, and it just he created some animosity in the locker room. So
that's what he does.
I get Kyrie comes with his flaws, but watching him play is awe-inspiring. You never really know what's going to happen. I've seen him put up 50 points in person, and it's a thing of beauty. I know you don't like the man. I will love him in place.
Yeah, it is what it is with Kyrie, man. I don't like him because he did a lot. He was a locker room cancer in Boston, and we saw a couple signs of that last year in Brooklyn as well. But hopefully it works out.
He chose to come to Brooklyn, though. He didn't choose to go to Boston.
No, true. He never really. I don't think he ever really wanted to be in Boston.
I don't think he bought into the idea of the Celtics at any point. And it's a shame because if he did, it could be a completely alternate history. It really could have been.
It would have been an incredible team too. I mean, but look, I'm a lot happier with Kemba. I think that was a unbelievable swap. To get a guy who might not be as talented as Kyrie, but still extremely talented and buys in, and that's what we needed. But before we get to our top 10 bubble teams, real quickly, I just want to get who's your MVP for the year, LeBron or Giannis?
Giannis, hands down. Sorry, my noise canceling headphones died, and now you get the sounds of my balcony.
That's all right. That's all right, John.
Definitely Giannis.
I agree with you.
To just see someone so dominating in every facet. LeBron, he's always got the narrative. You want to see how he finishes out the year. And I feel like he was starting to strengthen his case right before the season went and paused. He was playing real well at the end, and just happens to be. I don't think, and this is how I feel. I don't think that the next 8 games are going to play much into the MVP race. I don't know how they can. I think these reseeding games, as the NBA is calling them, they're going to be fascinating to watch. I mean, they're going to be all day, every day, I believe. So I work from home. Sorry to my employer. I will have them in the background probably all day.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think it's Giannis too. I've gotten a lot of LeBron takes, but I think the reason people are saying LeBron is it's kind of a storybook kind of season if LeBron wins MVP. I think he's had a great season. He's averaging 25, 26 points and 11 assists. I think that's great. But Giannis has been unstoppable this year. And you want to look for regular season MVP is the best player on the best team with the best record, and that's Giannis, and he has the stats to back it up too. I don't see how it can be LeBron when LeBron might have been better than Giannis for like the last couple months of the season. He really started to turn it up. But if we're talking, if we're increasing the sample size to more than like 15 games, it's Giannis, and I think that's just the end of story. It's just Giannis.
I went to the Bucks Nets game when Giannis came to town, and if you looked right half court, it looked to be Giannis's biggest fan. President Bill Clinton was sitting half court, and you could tell like when there was some stoppage, like he was pining to go over and talk to Giannis. It was pretty funny to watch. I'm sure there's a YouTube of it somewhere, but.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. Yeah, Giannis is incredible, man. It's a joke how good he is. But I wanted to get into the bubble, these teams. I want to do like a top 10 bubble team list. I got a list, and I just want you to kind of let me know what you're thinking. If teams should be in a different spot, you think teams are too high or too low. But I'm going to start off with my number 10 team, which is the Philadelphia 76ers. They've struggled this year, man. They going into the season, everyone looked at Philadelphia as almost a clear finals pick. A lot of analysts and people were saying Philadelphia was going to go to the NBA Finals. You know, you put Horford on that team with Embiid and Simmons, it's over. And it just hasn't panned out.
Yeah. Look, I like the 76ers. I like that they play like a bruisier type of game. They've got length. They've got athleticism. I mean, Joel Embiid, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, what a dude. Great follow on all social media platforms as well. He's a fun guy. Yeah, I don't think it's their year. They've got some chemistry issues for sure. I wouldn't rule them completely out, but I don't think it's their turn. Yeah,
look, the problem is, you know, Embiid and Simmons struggle playing with each other sometimes, and when you have such a lengthy and big team with Embiid, Horford, Harris, you know, Simmons is a very tall guard too. You have a lack of shooters at that point.
He got his first 3-pointer this year, right?
Yes, but I think Simmons, if the Sixers want to start having more consistent success, Simmons has to, you know, start shooting. You know, at least try shooting like 4 threes a game. Even that's enough. 4 or 5 threes a game. If you try to shoot that many, like 1 or 2 might fall, and that's good enough right now. But you know, when you're trying to spread the floor and you have like 2 guys that are in the paint and 1 guard that doesn't shoot, you know, you can't have Tobias Harris shooting everything. That you're never gonna win if one guy's doing that. Yeah. So yeah, it's just I think the Sixers are still a little ways away, and Brett Brown's probably gonna be fired, but unless they figure out this whole Embiid Simmons situation, I don't think they're gonna have very much success at all. But let's talk about my number 9. I have the Utah Jazz. One of the best defensive teams in the league. What do you think about the Jazz, John?
So, the Utah Jazz, honestly, they're a great team. Gotta love what Rudy Gobert brings, Donovan Mitchell. The issue here, I think, is the chemistry. There have been still reports that there's some mistrust in the locker room. There was a bit of the embarrassing moment of Rudy touching all the microphones and of all the reporters and supposedly not giving his all to keep his teammates clean and healthy and taking it more of a joke. And I think he's apologized, and I think that he's tried his best to move past it. But there are still reports of some animosity in the locker room, and I think
Yes.
that will maybe overshadow a bit of the talent that they have.
There are the reports that Donovan Mitchell is a cold and unforgiving man, but I mean, there's a lot of issues there in the locker room. It kind of all stemmed from Gobert touching all the mics and stuff, taking it seriously. He was joking around. I don't really see the big deal there. I mean, it's been a few months. He's apologized many times. I was joking around about the coronavirus a bunch. A lot of people were when it first started. So it's tough to
hopefully
really...
the mentality has shifted a little more towards we can all get along. Like, what did we all know before that? Now we know lots of new stuff, but at least as of like a month ago when I was reading, there was still some tension. But who knows? Sometimes the NBA can become a bit of more of a tabloid story than just people doing feats of athletic brilliance.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a very strong defensive team. Rudy Gobert is one of the best defensive bigs in the league. Great rim protector. He's been Defensive Player of the Year a couple times, I think. But offensively, I mean, you got Donovan Mitchell, but you're missing guys like Bogdanovich, who honestly is Bogdanovich is your second option if you're the Jazz, because Mike Conley hasn't played great. Joe Ingles is just kind of your catch and shoot guy at this point. So the Jazz are going to struggle unless Mike Conley can pull something out of his ass, which I don't think he will.
I don't think he will.
My number 8 team is the Miami Heat, which is honest. This year, I don't see them going too far. Second round, maybe conference finals if they get lucky, get hot. But this is a good team that I think will be successful in the coming years. What do you think about the Heat?
I think that their baby blue jerseys are the best jerseys in the league. The ones that have Vice on them, great jerseys.
Those are great jerseys. Those look pretty sick. But what do you think about chances here?
Jimmy Buckets, he's quite a dude. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Just being honest, I don't see it.
I just think they don't have the firepower, man. Like they're gonna be a tough team to play. Like for any team, they're gonna be they're gonna give you their best effort. With Jimmy,
Bam Adebayo really surprised this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I think you need a second guy who can kind of handle the ball well and maybe create his own shot. But I don't think you can do it with Jimmy and Bam alone. But I think they're gonna give like a Milwaukee team trouble. Like they're gonna make Giannis's job hard. If and when they meet in that second round series. But I think they're still going to be tough to beat. I think they're going to make the second round, and they'll be fun to watch. I haven't seen a whole lot of the Heat this year, so I'm really kind of looking forward to watching them play in the bubble. But number 7, we've got the Nuggets. For me, I think they were third in the West, but I just don't think they can compete with some of the bigger juggernauts in the league.
Well, and something to follow too. We think that Nikola Jokic is going to be back, but pretty sure he was stuck in his home country, and we just got to make sure that he gets back to the United States, gets in the bubble, joins his team, or they're a completely different looking team.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is he got the coronavirus, and so he definitely stayed a little bit longer at home. Honestly, it's probably a better thing if he tries to come a little later, so to make sure he's completely healthy. But if he's back, oh my God, he lost a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
But other guys, Gary Payton has the coronavirus too, so he'll be sitting. Oh no, that's a different Gary Payton, not Gary Harris. I got those two mixed up. Gary Payton II, who's on the Wizards, has coronavirus. That's regardless. But look, I just don't think they can compete with like the Lakers, Clippers, Bucks, those types of teams. I think they're just a little ways away, but they're very young. They're getting there, and Jokic is one of the best bigs in the league. So nothing but a bright future is what I see from this team.
No, definitely. It might not be this year, but they've got some time.
Yeah. My number 6 team is my pick to win the championship, John, the Houston Rockets.
Oh, it'll be interesting. I already told you I'm not so sure how the no center team works out, but I'm intrigued as hell. I can't wait to see it. I could see James Harden just take over, like he is known to do. And I have to say too, Sai, that every day I think James Harden looks a little more like you, and not
Really?
the other way around.
I love to hear it. That's what I've been trying to go for here, John. That's why I call myself, well, not me, but that's why the fans call me the Beard 2.0. It would be a ridiculous notion to say that I call myself the Beard 2.0. It's the fans.
It's all about the fans. Yes.
Yes. But I did want to say, like, James Harden could very well go off. One of the big criticisms of him has been that he has struggled to perform in the playoffs because he puts it on in the regular season so much that he has nothing left in the tank during the playoffs. That's not really going to be an issue this year. He's well rested. He's in a lot better shape too. He lost a lot of weight. And then you have Russell Westbrook. You know, it's an upgrade from an aged Chris Paul, in my opinion. And it's gonna be I think it's gonna be very beneficial for the Rockets. I think it's obviously tough with the Lakers and Clippers in the West as well, but I think any given series they can win.
Yeah, and I mean they've got just contributors too that can help out. I love me some Eric Gordon. Covington's on the team too.
Covington, PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker's like leads the league in corner threes. He's great.
Yeah. What you did have like the corpse of Tyson Chandler. Alas.
I don't think he'll play, but they just signed Luke Mbamute.
Really?
They did because Thabo Sefolosha is sitting out. Yeah. That'll be fun to see. I mean, I don't know how much he'll play, but regardless, I think they'll be a fun team to watch. I think small ball is going to be really cool to see. But number 5, I think the most underrated bubble team that honestly has a very big shot to make waves this postseason, but people aren't really talking about them much. But the Toronto Raptors, they're a complete team. They're a very complete team, John.
I don't think people expected them to continue after losing Kawhi last year. But gosh, they all got long arms. They got wingspan. They play hard. They play great defense. I really do love the Raptors, and I think that they stand a good chance this year.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Raptors, they have so much length. They're so big. They play very good defense, and then they have the offensive pieces too. I mean, you have a very complete roster. When you're looking at like these condensed playoff rotations, like these 8-man rotations, a lot of teams will have like 5 or 6 guys who can play really well, but the Raptors have 8 guys who all contribute in a very positive way. I think the only question I have about the Raptors is can Siakam make that leap to give me the ball at the end of every playoff game, and I will make something happen, and I will win the game for you. That's my only question at this point.
Is he the closer? I mean, I know he's their man, but would you trust him over, say, Kyle Lowry taking the last shot?
I don't think Kyle Lowry takes the last shot at all. No, I think you put the ball in Siakam's hands. I think Kyle Lowry can you can give him the ball in like a last possession, but he's going to be wanting to look for Siakam and give him a good look. But I think it's Siakam all the way.
Yeah. Well, I'll put my my chips on OG Anunoby.
Look, he could be a great part of that rotation too. I mean, the Raptors believe in him. He was hurt last year, but good God, if OG turns out to be a positive contributor and like who can be efficient and give you like 10 to 15 points a game, look out. And this is just a stacked team. The question is whether or not they have that one guy who can take you to the next level. But number 4,
they had that guy last season.
They did, and that's why they won. But number 4, I have I got my Boston Celtics, who I believe will make the NBA Finals over the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Celtics have already been kind of doing a small ball thing, and they've been very successful at it. I think they have so much firepower. They have like 4 guys who can give you 20 points on any given night. You got a hustler in Marcus Smart who's just going to make great plays for you in the end of game situations. I love this team, man. They're my team. I know I'm a little biased, but they got a shot.
They're stacked. I feel good about the Celtics. I know they're your team. I'll be watching them. You think Taco Fall's coming along with the team to Orlando?
I haven't seen any reports that he isn't, but I don't think he's gonna play. No, but
no. But I feel good about him. It's a loaded team. You got Tatum, you got Walker, you got Marcus Smart, Brown, Hayward. Like it, you got pieces.
I also think the Time Lord will be healthy, John. Robert Williams, the defensive presence, the Time Lord. I think, I love this team, man. And I
what
think
about Romeo? Isn't Romeo Langford on the team too?
Don't talk to me about Romeo. He's my least favorite player on the team. I don't like Romeo all that much. I think Carson Edwards could actually be a better fit for them. I think he'll be better, but Romeo looks like a bust to me in a lot of ways. Like he's played in the G League a lot this year, but we'll see. I got the Clippers right above the Celtics though. I think a lot of question marks for me around the Clippers though, because like you don't get a whole lot. You don't get a whole lot of the picture of what a Kawhi Leonard team looks like in the regular season. It's really hard to tell, because they're load managing all the time. Him and Paul George are both load managing. I think they're a great team. I just don't know if they can beat the Lakers. I don't know if they have a lot of depth. They have a lot of size. I just think the Lakers are just slightly better.
I feel good on the Clippers. I mean, you've got Kawhi, who he's looking for his repeat. You've got some players that are just hungry. We'll see that, now that they're finally going to drop some load management and really put 110% into their games, if that makes the difference. But I think they're pretty stacked. I like my boy Marcus Morris, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
I love Marcus Morris, man. I wish the Celtics didn't get rid of him, but dude, it's a good team. It's a great team, and they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. The Battle of LA would be awesome to see.
It'll be a battle for years to come, And gosh, Staples Center is the place to be right now. Staples Center in Orlando.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Staples Center in Orlando. I wonder who will have the home court advantage there with no fans. Number 2, I have the Bucks just slightly under the Lakers. Even though they had a better record, I just don't think playoff wise. I don't see the Bucks going to the finals. I think in the playoffs, in the regular season, defense is kind of just like when teams will kind of just let Giannis do his thing on defense. They're not gonna go out of their way to like take a charge or anything on him. But in the playoffs, that all changes. They're gonna crowd the paint. Giannis is gonna be forced to dish the ball out. And if a guy like Middleton or somebody else doesn't give you like 25 to 30 points a night, you're in some trouble. I mean, Giannis isn't going to be able to have these 30, 35 point, 15 rebound games every game.
No, people are going to be flocking him and really focused on him. You got to be if you're going to take him down.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just be if the other players can scare the opponent enough for Giannis to have some room and some space.
Yeah. I just don't see them as ready yet. I think Giannis will need another guy on his team to really another superstar type player on his team to win a championship, because I think he needs a star point guard. Bledsoe's good, but he's not. He's good. That's it. He's good, not great.
He'll have Giannis will have plenty of years to find the guy who to be next to him. I think they've got a great shot this year coming out of the East. I mean, unless I really don't see them losing to many teams except for maybe the Celtics or the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they'll only have to really face one to get to the finals, but we'll see. I won't rule them out.
Yeah, if they get to the finals, they might have to play the number 1 on my team, which is the Lakers. Obviously, they're kind of most people's top pick to win this year. It's just LeBron and AD is just a mammoth of a duo, man. And they have so many pieces around him to really help. If Kyle Kuzma can get going, that would be even better for them.
Anyone who's watched the Lakers this year will know it's like watching a different game. I mean, LeBron, at any point, he can take the ball and make something happen. And right when you're so focused on LeBron, guess who comes out of nowhere? Anthony Davis, the Brow. When you're focused on the two of them, they've just got that supporting cast that's ready to go. You got Kyle Kuzma. You got Dwight Howard. He's still kicking. He looked great this year, honestly. And in the role that he was put forward as, Dwight, don't sleep on him. JaVale McGee, gosh, they're stacked. I feel really good about their chances. Definitely consider them the top runner. It's not a controversial take by any means, but I put a lot of support into the Lakers for this playoff.
Yeah, and what I see from the Lakers too is you mentioned Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee. Look, if they go up against the Bucks in the NBA Finals, yeah, I'm gonna asking Giannis to get through LeBron, AD, JaVale McGee, and Dwight Howard. I mean, that is you've got a lot of big men there who can guard some of the toughest guys to guard in the league. So, I mean, this Lakers team is stacked, man. This is a deep team, and even on the smaller positions too, you got Rondo. I know Bradley's not going to play, but JR.
J.R. Smith is joining the team. Who knows what he has left in the tank, but I'm all for the shenanigans.
It'll be interesting. I mean, JR struggled in Cleveland that last year in the playoffs, but they didn't really have anyone else on the team. But I think JR is only going to be positive when you have all these other guys playing so well. So, it's going to be fun, man. I think the Lakers are going to have a very successful postseason, just like you said. But I did want to get to my third hot take.
Go ahead. I'm excited.
Giannis will leave Milwaukee next year.
Interesting. Where do you have any ideas of where you think you see him going?
For a while, I thought Golden State was like a viable option. I just think I don't know if they would be able to afford him at the end of the day with Steph and Clay. That would be tough. But I know he likes to play with Steph. We've seen it in the All-Star game. But I think one place that he could really go to and strive is Miami.
I would love to see it. See him and Jimmy Buckets together. Man. I will say that, and I brought up just a little about Giannis earlier, his contract situation is that if he were to resign, or if he were to sign again with the Bucks, he will be the highest paid NBA player. Over 5 years, he'll make about $250 million. And if he were to sign with any other team, he can only sign for 4 years at a lower rate. It's just how the salaries work in the NBA. The teams negotiated the stance that try to help the drafting team of these superstars to keep their superstars, to get them well paid, to give them an incentivized to stay in those cities. But I don't know. I've seen Giannis seems pretty happy in Milwaukee. They've built a juggernaut. I would love to see him try his luck somewhere else too. And the Heat sound exciting. I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, look, I think they have stacked pieces around him, and yes, he would get paid a lot if he stayed. All I see is I don't see them winning chips, and Giannis wants to win championships. And if they can't get it done this year and they can't get it done next year, then, I mean, you've built this team around Giannis, and clearly that's not the solution anymore. So this take is very dependent on how the Bucks do in the postseason. But if they fail to reach the NBA Finals and win a championship in the next 2 years, which I believe they will not, I don't think Giannis stays at that point. I think he wants to go to a place where he has help. I think he wants to go to somewhere where there's another guy who can take on some of the load, and help him win a championship.
Hey, I'm all for it. I wish nothing but the best for Giannis. He has a bright future, whether it's with the Bucks or any other team. He's here to stay. His whole family is in the league shortly.
Yeah. I think, the three brothers in the league now. His fourth is playing in Europe. Apparently he's supposed to be pretty good. So, it's cool to see, man. I mean, you got a Antetokounmpo on the Lakers too. So it could make things interesting. It would be cool to see one of his brothers become like a good player, though. We haven't really seen that yet, but it'll be fun, man. I do want to get to what I think is the most fun part of the show, and this was a really fun episode because we had, not only do we have the power rankings, we also did the top 10 bubble teams rankings. So it's rankings galore today, because in honor of this was my birthday week for all the viewers at home. So I wanted to do a special rankings episode with a lot of rankings. But we're here doing the power rankings now, and John will help us read some of these out. John, I want you to give me number 10 on the power rankings.
Number 10, the Sacramento Kings.
This is true. They have the longest playoff drought, John, which is why they couldn't be any higher.
Yeah, good for them. They made the list. They made a list. Number 9.
Number nine, we have NBA bubble food, John. You know, it hasn't looked good from what we've been seeing. Players have been shitting on it constantly. What do you think about this?
Well, you have to put the first picture I saw looked a lot like airplane food. Like they're like a lot of little containers of various fruits and such. It's not like a Fire Festival cheese sandwich bad by any means. Something tells me it's gonna get nicer. Like these superstars, they need to eat. LeBron's a hungry boy, and everyone is. I think you'll see the quality go way up. Do remember that this is Disney run. They've got all the operations in place. The people from the parks, all the chefs aren't working in the parks right now, so they're gonna come and make it a special cuisine. But for the time being, I have enjoyed some of the food critiques and reviews that we've gotten, and they have been subpar.
Yeah, it looked bad. Like I think Montreal Herald shared a picture of like some very stale looking chicken that they provided for him. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
I also think that it's each individual team that decides the diet for their team, and so it'll be fun to see what teams do it best, what teams do it worse. Maybe another sort of ranking one day.
Which teams have the best bubble food ranking? You spend an entire podcast on that. Give me number 8.
Number 8, Maroon 5.
The worst Super Bowl halftime performers, in my opinion.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start with this one because one, I really wanted to like the cameo that SpongeBob made. I really did. But they butchered it. They could have done so much more.
It was like 2 seconds too. It was like there wasn't really even a, and it wasn't like it was just like on a screen. I thought they were gonna do something big with SpongeBob, like have a I don't know. It was kind of lame.
And I think too there was a new awareness shown to just how tiny Adam Levine's nipples are.
I didn't know this, but that's hilarious.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's also I don't know. He's just not exciting, dude. He has bad music also. But number 7, we have John Fry. Thank you for coming on the show, John. We really loved having you here and loved all your takes and loved the deep analysis that you've given us today. And we'd love to have you back on later on when sports are actually happening. I think that would be more fun. But thank you again for joining us on Top of the Key this week.
Well, thank you. It's a great honor to make the list at all. Hell, I finished above Adam Levine and the Sacramento Kings, so I feel pretty good for myself. I'm going to put in a lot of time and effort, and hopefully one day I move up the list. But 7 is pretty damn good, if I may say so myself.
Hey, you were not even in the top 10 last week, so you've made big strides to get where you are today.
It takes a little practice and determination and diligence, and I want to thank all of my fans personally. And yeah, this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning, and hopefully today you're going to garner even more fans, and by the next time you're on the show, you'll have even more than that. So it's this is why we do this, John. This is why we have podcasts, so that us as individuals can gain some clout. That's all we're here for, anyways. But I want you to give me number 6.
All right. Number 6, Horace Grant.
Now, John, I'll tell you why Horace Grant is at number 6. Horace Grant is in my top 5 list of greatest NBA players of all time. I've given out the top 3 in the power rankings of previous weeks. I first said number 1 was Dennis Rodman. Then the following week, I said number 2 was Meta World Peace. Number 3,
Ron Artest.
Ron Artest, yes. Number 3 last week I revealed was Draymond Green. And this week, number 4, it's Horace Grant. Next week, I will be revealing number 5 on the power rankings to round it out. But this is why number 6 on the power rankings this week is Horace Grant, because he is one of the greatest NBA players of all time in my mind, because the greatest players are the ones who play with the right basics and fundamentals. I don't like all these shooters shooting the ball all the time. I like good defense, good rebounding, and hustling. That's the way I play the game, and that's the way everyone should play the game, John.
I can really tell from all our pickup games and scrimmages how Horace Grant has really influenced your style of play. So, yes, power to you and to Horace.
Yes. Moving on to number 5, we have taunting penalties, John. These are some of the most fun types of penalties out there. You always love when a wide receiver makes a great play, great catch down the sidelines, and then taunts the other team, and then boom, the yellow flag is thrown, and then you got to go back. How do you feel about taunting penalties, John?
Oh, I'm all for them. Yes, I like it. I am all for it. I think that sometimes people get a little sensitive to it, but I also love taunting penalties in which, or just taunting in general, when there's a great showboat and big celebration, and then something's overturned. The look on the face just gets me every time. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I love to see when a player just is so happy they made a great play, and then they get punished for their celebrations.
I think we could use more of it in the college game.
This is true. I would love to see something like that. Hit me with number 4.
Number 4, the 1%.
They just welcomed Patrick Mahomes into their community.
That's very kind, and I actually think he's probably in what I'll call like the Purell percentage now. You know how Purell kills like 99.99% of all germs. He's in that top 0.01% now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good place to be.
And also he can walk into any restaurant in Kansas and he'll never have to pay for another meal. I mean, he is a legend in the making. Welcome to the 1%, Mahomes. Happy.
I wish I was in the 1%, man. It sounds like a nice place to be. And Patrick Mahomes is there. But number 3 is Ladicki Ball, the lesser-known 4th Ball brother, also a rapper known as Lil Dicky. He is not as much ball skills, John, but in the rap game, he's a lot. He definitely overshadows his brothers in the rap game.
Well, I'm sure he could probably go head-to-head with LiAngelo pretty well on the court. That's not asking much. I don't know. I tend to think all the balls are set for success. If you just follow LeVar's lead, they're set in stone. They're good.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And yeah, I definitely think he's the best rapper in the family, and probably the 3rd best basketball player in the family. So things are looking good for Ladicki. Give me number 2.
Number 2. Well, you sent me number 2, and it says myself. So
Yeah.
I feel like you're trying to say that I made the list twice in 1 week. That's a hell of a power rankings.
What I mean by myself is I mean myself, your host, the Great Beard 2.0, icon to the children.
Well, maybe this is just semantics. You sent it to me to read, and it says myself. So, you say tomato, I say tomato. You say myself, I say myself.
Well, John, I think I know who's in the power rankings and who is not. I mean, these are based on voting. The fans vote at home, and they send it in, and I count up the votes. I tally them up, and they put me at number 2. So
if it were any other week but your birthday week, I would fight you tooth and nail on this. But I feel like it's the minimum gift I can give you is the number 2 spot. So congratulations, Sai. It is all yours. I will gladly retreat to my number 7.
Thank you, John. I just want to let the viewers at home know that I've been number 2 for 8 weeks in a row. That is a Top of the Key podcast record. But moving on to number 1. He was on the list last week, but he was not number 1 last week. He's moved up into the number 1 spot. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Chestnut. What an incredible performance at the hot dog eating contest. His 13th championship. My God, this guy is he the GOAT, John?
You could say something like that. I did not watch this year's edition, but I have watched previous years, and let me just tell you, there's nothing like it. If you enjoy eating a hot dog, you think it's nice, like you're out at a ballpark, you're watching baseball, you're like, I need a dog. You'll never think of a hot dog the same way after watching Joey Chestnut devour, what was it, like 72?
It was 75, I think.
Wow. Viewer discretion advised. It is not a pretty feat. I am honestly, my dad called me on the 3rd of July, and he said, Jonathan, you know what you could do tomorrow? You could go see Joey Chestnut break a world record. I live in Brooklyn. Coney Island is in Brooklyn. That's where they hold the contest. There was just a little tinge of me thinking, gosh, that's the return to sports that I really need in my life. Maybe Joey Chestnut is my 4th of July plans. But alas, no, but he had a good week. I think it's well-deserved at number 1. So good. The fans got it right.
They absolutely did, man. And just such a legend. And hopefully one day we can have Joey Chestnut on the show. But that was our top 10, folks. But I always like to give a couple outside of the top 10 that didn't make the cut. So at number 3,371, we have Jeffrey Dahmer, folks. And when I look at all these guys on the power rankings this week, I mean, nobody gets my blood boiling as much as Jeffrey Dahmer, and this guy's just a crook, not a good guy, John.
He's the hungry one, right?
He's yeah, I think he's one of those, yeah.
What separates him from Joey Chestnut? I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer would be pretty good in a hot dog eating contest.
Yeah, he'd be good at a hot human eating contest because he likes to eat people.
Okay, I see your point. I will give you that.
I mean, yeah, just a not a straight up gentleman right there. He's not a good guy. But right below him at number 3,372, you guessed it, folks. It's J.R. Smith. Thank you, guys. I just want to thank John again for coming on the show. We really enjoyed having you this week. And again, I'd like to tell all the folks at home to like, subscribe, comment, Tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel about John. Was he a good enough guest, or should I have gone for someone better? Just let me know how you feel, guys. And once again, I just want to tell everyone at home, thanks for watching this edition of Top of the Key. We'll be back next week. Thank you, and have a great night, guys.